is one leading this charge, and he met with the president at the White House. Welcome to you, Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, and I also want to say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
After reading through some reports about your meeting with the president, it sounds like everyone was on the same page with this issue. And you've said in the past you wanted to bring some Wisconsin common sense to Washington, D.C. So how do you feel it went?
I feel the meeting went extremely well. The president seemed highly supportive. He pledged his support, and obviously on the campaign trail, as you played, had talked about term limits as part of the Drain the Swamp effort. He also said he was genuinely impressed with the enthusiasm of the group, the fact that it was a bipartisan group, and the fact that this was coming from a group of freshman lawmakers. And what's unique about our proposal right now is that we propose to apply it to our class and all subsequent classes, so it phases in over time and thereby perhaps overcomes the objections of many people that have been there for a while here. And they would just fade away over time as the new system phases in.
All right. You know, back in October of 2016, then candidate Trump said he would propose this 6-year limit for members of the House and 12-year limit for senators. Your group has set a goal to put out your ideas and insights to present to the White House, but you say you still need to settle on some of the language to phase them in. So can you give us some of the specifics on that?
Well, we're hoping to finalize our agreement this week, and we want to maintain that bipartisan group. And we're just having a debate about what's the appropriate split. We're talking about 12 and 12 right now, and then again it would phase in over time, which we think is a unique proposal because it says our class is stepping up to lead on this issue. And I just believe this is an idea whose time has come. Over 80% of the American people support term limits. So I understand there's going to be opposition from a lot of my colleagues, but I'm not exactly sure how you can defend the status quo. You referenced my service. I spent a lot of time in the Marine Corps where I saw something remarkable. I saw young men and women from across this country who were willing to work together despite their different backgrounds to get a difficult job done. In D.C., I've seen the opposite. I've seen people that put their careers ahead of the country or worry more about their reelection than they do about getting stuff done. So I think we need a change. And I think term limits are a way of getting us back to that model of the citizen legislator that the framers had in mind, and forcing everyone in Congress to treat their time here like a deployment and not like a career.
And you talked about the percentage there. So how will you and the other first-term lawmakers deal with what is expected to be fierce resistance from the, what they call the old guard in Washington? What do you say to those who are opposed to term limits, who say, we have an election process. Why does there have to be a term limit? And by the way, we'd have to change the Constitution to do this. How do you fight back on that?
I would say if that's the case, if elections are a natural term limit, then why is it that Congress has a 96% incumbent reelection rate? At the same time, Congress as an institution has a 12% approval rating, lower than cockroaches and colonoscopies. Those two things don't add up because of the structural advantages of incumbency and because we've strayed so far from the model that Jefferson talked about, where he said you'd step up for a season of service and then go home, and you wouldn't use the office to enrich yourself. And if you don't believe that's happening, well, then Harry Reid has some real estate in Nevada that he'd like to sell to you. So it may seem like a lost cause, but the history of our country is filled with seemingly lost causes that now seem like self-evident truths in retrospect.
And as we mentioned at the top, this is a bipartisan effort. How do you see this playing out? You've got a pretty good-sized uphill battle. Do you think you'll be able to move the needle anytime soon? As we mentioned before as well, this has been proposed for a long time.
Well, the bipartisan nature of this, I think, is critical. I wrote an op-ed a year ago with another freshman member who's a Democrat from Silicon Valley who supported Bernie Sanders. So the two of us don't agree on much, but we agree on this, and we agree on other elements of congressional reform and draining the swamp. And I continue to get asked about that from people across the ideological spectrum back in Green Bay, Wisconsin, who really support this idea. Having the president's support is crucial, but it's not going to be easy, so we're going to have to make the argument to House leadership that our proposal, once we finalized our agreement, deserves its day in the sun and deserves a vote on the House floor.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I'm hoping, do you promise to come back and tell us how it goes after you submit that proposal?
Anytime you want, I'll come back and talk term limits and draining the swamp.
Excellent. And cockroaches, was it? Cockroaches and colonoscopy? I mean, 2 words.
You can check me on that. It's a real thing.
Okay, very good. Representative Mike Gallagher, thank you for being here today. 2 words I didn't think I was going to say or hear in this newscast today, but I appreciate it, and I will check it out. Thank you.
But happy